Kashmir is not just a piece of land, it is a phenomenon, an idea that captures the imagination of millions of Pakistanis all around the world. And while Kashmir forms a prominent part of our social and political fabric, the focus on this topic has often remained limited to the Indian held Kashmir. It is extremely unfortunate that very few people have ventured to understand the region of Kashmir that is Azad Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit Baltistan. Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome to another episode of Paradigm Shift interview series. I'm your host Fahad Sayyed, and today we will endeavor to understand the region which is Azad Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit Baltistan. We will look at the challenges and the problems that this region faces and the opportunities of growth and the hope for a brighter future that this region has to offer. I'm joined today by Ms. Midhat Shahzad, who is a highly qualified individual. She completed her bachelor's in economics and then pursued a master's in economics, econometrics, and advanced mathematics from University of Central Punjab, followed up by an MPhil in international relations and national security studies from National Defense University. She has also enjoyed a prolific career in the Pakistan Civil Service, holding distinguished portfolios such as Additional Secretary to Kashmir Government, Joint Secretary on Kashmir Affairs in Gilgit Baltistan, and her current portfolio as Secretary Information, Tourism, and Information Technology. Please welcome Ms. Midhat Shahzad. Ma'am, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So, ma'am, हम इसकी discussion जो है, we will talk about Azad Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit Baltistan, and we will begin our discussion. I want to begin this discussion from the problems and the challenges that this region faces, because a lot of people are not aware of the problems that the Azad Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit Baltistan region faces. So, if you could walk us through the economic and political challenges that hinder the development of this region, we'll begin our discussion from there.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Actually, AJ&K and GB both are internationally disputed territories in the books of UN resolutions and everywhere. So, according to UN resolutions, this territory of Kashmir, including AJ&K and GB, this should be handled by Pakistan, and its development and welfare of the people is the responsibility of government of Pakistan. But even then, AJK government, both the regions have their own constitutional independence, have their own legislatures, have their own courts, everything, governance structure. But a bit of difference between constitutional status of both the regions, like GB and AJK. AJK has full-fledged independent interim constitutional act, but in GB that is not that much independent, but it is quite independent as well. But its amendment in the interim constitution can't be done by the GB government alone. Pakistan federal government's presidential order 2008 is actually in place in EGB. That can be amended by the presidential orders again. So this is a small difference between both the constitutions. But constitutionally, we are quite autonomous and independent.
Right.
Even then, the government of Pakistan has to finance both the areas from its kitty, so that the development of AJK and GB can be done with the help of that financial help.
Right.
So financially, we are dependent on Pakistan, but apart from a lot of other independence and autonomy, some subjects are with government of Pakistan, because internationally, the subjects which are dealt with international interactions as well, these subjects are with government of Pakistan, and obviously government of AJK or GB are taken in confidence as well. But these subjects are with the government of Pakistan.
Yeah.
So constitutionally and administratively, we are independent, and we are doing our own development with the help of Pakistan.
Yeah, I was reading one of the papers that you have co-authored, in which you talked about the problem of constitutional development in the region that has led to and the challenges that it creates for the administrative side of affairs in the Kashmir, in the Azad Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan region. So if you could talk a little bit more about what are the administrative challenges you face because of your the murky constitutional situation that we have in this region.
Actually, I am actually arguing that constitutionally we're not that much dependent upon Pakistan. And that is why independent administratively we are independent as well. But
Okay.
some constitutional forums of Pakistan government, we don't have reach in those forums because of this constitutional hitch,
Right.
like ECC and big forums in Pakistan. But otherwise, we are getting our share from Pakistan government as in financial terms as well
Yeah.
as in administrative help and everywhere. And administratively, we are doing at our own, but with the help of financial help from government of Pakistan.
Right.
So there is not a big challenge for us. We
Right.
are doing very well independently. We are making our own annual development plan, and we are conceiving our own projects in AJK and GB both areas. And we are implementers are we ourselves as well. So administratively, we are administering both the areas ourselves.
That is very nice, and I believe it's always nice when the administration of a region is there is some grassroots administration rather than a strong center ruling over the region. I think it helps
Yeah.
because it also builds trust between the people that reside over there and the state operatives that is present over there. Ma'am, I have a small caveat of a question. When the Indian government revoked the Article 370 and it created a lot of challenges, there was a lot of discourse about the status of the Indian occupied Kashmir and all of that. I wanted to ask if does this pose any challenge or threat to the status of Azad Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan, and does that impact it in any way?
Actually, this Article 370 of Indian Constitution was worrisome for us the whole the time when it was placed in the Indian Constitution, because it stated that Kashmir was the integral part of India.
Yeah.
Although they have given a special status to Kashmir Valley, but even then we are not happy with the Article 370. Once it
Right.
is revoked, we are happy to that. But after the development after that revocation, that were alarming for us, because after the revocation of Article 370, they started to merge the territories of
Yeah.
occupied Kashmir with Indian territory, and they are calling that Union Territory of
Yeah.
India. So that is alarming situation for Kashmir, not only for the Kashmiri people, but overall the Kashmir issue, because issue is in the resolutions of United Nations. So internationally, India has done the violation
Yeah.
to the UN resolutions by revoking this Article 370 and adding union territories in its
Yeah.
own. Single-handedly, they have decided about the
Yeah.
territories of occupied Kashmir as their integral union territory of India. So this is not fair with internationally as well.
Yeah.
And apart from Article 370, there is a part of a section in it that is 35, Article 35A.
Right.
This article states that Kashmiris have their own rights on their land, but after the abolition of this Article 35A, now non-Kashmiris can reside in Kashmir as well. They can buy the land in Kashmir, and this right was given by the Maharaja of Kashmir to the people of
Yeah.
Kashmir,
Yeah.
and that should continue all the time. But now, because of abolition of this 35A, they are actually making the demographic changes in Kashmir. A lot of Hindu communities are being settled in Kashmir forcefully, and they are buying the lands in Kashmir. So demographic upside down is being done by Indian
Yeah.
government with these tactics of revoking the Article 370 and 35A.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am, for the very comprehensive overview of that issue. Initially, you talked about that there is this dependence on the government of Pakistan for with regards to the funds and everything. Are there any other ways through which we what can be done to stimulate more political and economic development of the region of AJK and GB? What do you think that can be done further to sort of create opportunities of growth and development within that region?
Actually, when we plan for our own budget, or when we issue our budget, annual budget to the people of Kashmir, we always see that how much is coming from Pakistan and how much we can have our own receipts,
Yeah,
or how much we can create opportunities for the employment of local people.
yeah,
So we have inland revenue department with us, and we are collecting a lot of income tax because of this inland
yeah,
revenue department. So we have a lot of receipts at our own at in AJK as well. And apart from that, we have some opportunities for the development in the form of tourism sector, in the form of IT sector, and hydroelectric sector. So this is a huge potential for the development of that area. Tourism and IT can be the backbone of our economy,
yeah.
and because we have a lot of huge potential which is still untapped, and that can be tapped for the development of that area.
Yeah. It is interesting that we moved, so sort of naturally we moved to the second aspect of this discussion, which is I wanted to talk about tourism. And I was very delighted to learn about the immense history and the cultural heritage that Kashmir region has to offer and the opportunities it has. During your tenure as in your portfolio as a secretary for tourism, IT, and information, you've also oversaw the first ever tourism policy for AJK and Gilgit Baltistan. So if you could walk us a bit through what that policy is, because what I've learned is it's the first time ever we have had a sustainable tourism policy for this region. So if you could elaborate on that for us.
So, yes, I'm so honored and proud to say that this was the first ever AJK tourism policy. Not only the sustainable tourism, but only the tourism policy. First ever AJK tourism was chalked out by my team and my during my tenure. So this was the AJK tourism policy 2019, and
Yeah,
its vision and mission both include sustainable development and inclusive development, so
right.
that community can be included in that development, so that they can be more powered and more
Yeah,
empowered. So with this policy we have a lot of objectives, about 8 and 9, 11 objectives in it, which state that there must be diversification of tourism destinations, there must be standardization of services, the regulation should be there, but overall tourism sector should be run by the private sector. So private sector should get the opportunity of investment in this sector. So all these are the objectives. Actually, we overall, if you sum up the tourism policy, we can say that the government of AJK, we placed us as the regulator or facilitator for the tourism sector, but the tourism sector should be run by the private sector. That is our crux of our tourism policy. And
right. So
apart from that policy, we have adopted another legislation, that is Tourism Promotion Act. And in with this act, and that was also issued and legislated during 2019 and 20. And this act gives the mechanism to the investors that how they can come in the tourism sector, and how they can apply for the investment in the tourism sector, and how they can get the opportunity for the investment in tourism sector in AJK.
right. So basically, the idea is that there is some sort of public-private partnership in order to stimulate the growth of the tourism industry in the region.
Yeah, yeah, you can say public-private partnership, but we are actually outsourcing our lands and our entities. We
Right.
have a special clause in this act that is called we have to create land bank for the tourism for the investors in tourism sector. So land bank is there with the tourism department now.
Okay.
But whenever we offer land, open land to the investors, that is available with tourism department before that.
Yeah.
And apart from that land, we have a lot of rest houses and other infrastructure which is also being outsourced to the investors.
Right.
So they are getting not only the open lanes but also the infrastructure of tourism department for the investment, further investment.
Right. So that is again, it's always nice to hear when these things about indigenous development is always it there is that element of sustainability as well, because when people of a region develop
Yeah,
their own region, they have this connection with the land, and that obviously there is respect and regard for the place. One of the things that I was learning about was you have taken some measures to develop certain tourism activities in the region. There is paragliding and skiing and etc. So I want to know what has been the feedback. It's basically a two-point question. Number one, what has been the overall feedback from the tourists with regards to these activities, and secondly, how much of this is domestic tourism and how much of it is international tourism?
Actually, if we say that percentage of domestic and international, I'm taking the second question first. We are far behind with in the international tourism because a lot of other problems exist in this territory because of being the disputed territory.
Yeah,
We are most of our tourism is on the line of control, and that line of control is very sensitive for the
yeah,
international tourist as well. So we are it is very heartening that we can't promote enough international tourism.
yeah,
But even then, domestic tourism is so much that still our infrastructure is not enough for the domestic tourism. We
right,
the average tourist influx in AJK per year is 1.5 million. Apart from COVID years, last 2 years of COVID, average is 1.5, 1.3 million every year.
right,
So this is huge influx of tourists,
yeah,
domestic tourists in AJK, and we are still not, we don't have still enough infrastructure to accommodate these tourists. For this purpose, we have prepared a new version of tourism hospitality, that is homestay version, and we
right,
created about 19 homes in Neelam Valley
right,
for the tourists to live in the local with the in the houses of local people. We in the adventure tourism you are talking about,
yeah,
we have introduced this adventure tourism during last about 5 6 years, or you can say last decade. But now it is gaining a lot of momentum in AJK, and paragliding is a permanent feature for the AJK because we do have an MOU with the in Pakistan Paragliding and Hang Gliding Association, and they are
right,
permanently placed in AJK, and Pir Chinasi is a place in Muzaffarabad that is
yeah,
called by them, by the experts of paragliding, that this is the best place in Asia for the paragliding. So they are continuously there in Pir Chinasi. They are
right,
giving training to the local people as well, and they are also offering the paragliding experience to the local people, not only people but the tourists as well. So this is a good activity and a permanent feature of adventure tourism of AJK. Apart from that, skiing or skating, you can say, that is being done for the last 4 years in Adankel and Gangachoti,
right,
and not only nationally but international skiers, international trainers did come in Gangachoti to train the local people. So this was a huge, you can say, breakthrough in the adventure tourism in AJK. Apart from that, we are doing a lot of rafting and boating in river sites as well. So adventure tourism is getting momentum.
yeah,
Even the hiking and trekking also
yeah.
in place in AJK.
That is something that is very nice to hear, and I'm sure it would also help with the issue of employment within the region as well. It will also generate a lot of employment for the people of Kashmir
Yeah.
within that region. Yeah, that is very nice to hear, and I also look forward to doing some of those activities whenever I get the chance to visit Kashmir.
You're most welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. Ma'am, we are coming towards the end of this discussion, which has been short but very comprehensive with regards to an understanding of Kashmir and the opportunities that this region has to offer. I want you to share your views on the future outlook of this region. What do you believe is the future of Azad Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit Baltistan, and not just the land but also the people? And what do you believe more can be done, not just by the government over there, but also by the government of Pakistan?
Actually, government of Pakistan is very much mm, with the government of AJK and government of GB both. But
Right.
citizens of Pakistan and citizens of AJK,
Yeah.
they should be more interacted. There must be more interaction between them. And I must say that the people in Pakistan, they are part and parcel of AJK and GB, but they should know more about Kashmir issue.
Yeah.
They should study the Kashmir issue deeply so that they can have the different aspects of Kashmir issue, and they can speak on that issue in international forums, and they can be our leaders in international forums. So this is my suggestion to the people of Pakistan. But overall, AJK, GB, and Pakistan, they are one, and they are doing very collaborative efforts to develop these areas.
That is very nice, Fred. And I hope through this interview, our audiences can also learn a little bit more about the region of Kashmir, and it will spark further discussion and understanding for the people of Pakistan as well. Ma'am, once again, thank you so much for sparing time. I know you were very busy, so thank you so much for giving us this time and the opportunity to learn about Kashmir from somebody who is in Kashmir, somebody who has so much experience in that region. With that, we'll be signing off. And to our audiences, I hope that you have enjoyed this interview. Please leave your feedback in the comment section below. And I hope that it will spark your interest in visiting the place, in learning about the place, and gaining a better understanding of the region of Kashmir, as it is very close to our hearts. Thank you once again, and Allah Hafiz.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.